evening, everyone. Can you still hear me? Good. Okay, my name's Alida Nelson, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you here to the mosque that is also the Islamic Institute for Nevada, and we are welcoming you on behalf of them and on behalf of the Interfaith Council and the Interfaith Forum Committee and all of our volunteers. So thank you for being here at our fourth program in our 24th annual series titled What We Believe, A Step Toward Mutual Understanding. The topic tonight is how faiths organize themselves and address societal change. So this is more or less what we hope that you'll be hearing tonight. Now, depending on their organization of their faith, the panelists may be addressing their clergy qualifications and responsibilities, as well as roles and responsibilities for men, women, and children. If a faith has no clergy, how does it operate? If there are international, national, or local organizing bodies, what do they do? The reasons behind collecting and distributing money, formalized means of entering and being removed from the faith, and how does this organized body then address the issues of societal change? For instance, if there is an unforeseen event that should occur in a culture that was not at present when the faith emerged, such as perhaps cloning or equal rights, how does that organized body then respond to those changes? And then is there a final culminating event that this organized religion is preparing for, be it an apocalyptic or an end times or whatever? What is the guidance from that faith toward its members on how to address that event? Now, the purpose of these forums is several. First of all, it's to hear the actual teachings of each of the religions that are represented here this evening. And that's important because in the public arena, as you probably know, there's often kind of information where you hear something about a faith by someone who has either denounced the faith, doesn't know about the faith, heard about the faith, or is mad at the faith. So this is an opportunity to hear the real teachings from people who believe in this religion. And hopefully also we ask our panelists to address their comments from those more scriptural aspects of the religion, so you hear the foundational elements of the faith as opposed to one individual's opinion. Also, it's an opportunity for us to meet people of different faiths, and it's an opportunity to visit different houses of worship. And tonight you'll have an opportunity to visit this mosque afterwards if you have the time to stay around. Toward the end of being able to become acquainted with different houses of worship, we are going to invite Dr. Aslam Abdullah, who is the director of the Islamic Society, and he's going to come forward and give you a 2 or 3 minute introduction to the mosque, and also to, when he's finished that, he's going to offer a prayer in the manner in which people who embrace the Islamic faith pray, and I understand he'll be chanting. So we now ask you to welcome our host, Dr. Aslam Abdullah.
Somewhere in the desert of Nevada, there are towns, small towns, where you would still find the inscriptions that were written by the people who at one time were Muslims, and who basically inscribed their prayers on the stones and on the walls. And those are the earliest mementos that you would find in this country about Islam and Muslims that were written in 16th and 17th century. So, even though it may appear that we Muslims mostly comprise of immigrants, but a great majority of Muslims have been here for the last 400 years. and that includes African Americans, and that includes the Indians as well. And even though many of us who migrated in this country might speak with an accent, but we do not think with an accent. And it is for that particular, with that kind of a spirit, that in 1948, the first mosque in this town was built in a small town, in a small place in the D Street. And then, since then, the community has grown, and we have now 6 mosques all over the southern Nevada. This was built in 1972, this particular mosque. In 1985, it had the expansion. And usually, it attracts on the specific festive holidays, maybe 2,000 to 3,000 people. This morning, we had the prayers for the sacrificial Eid, which we celebrate to honor Prophet Abraham and his son Ishmael and his family for their sacrifices to humanity. So we had the prayers tonight, this morning, and nearly 2,000 people were here. And certainly this is in relation to what many of you might have seen taking place in Saudi Arabia in the form of Hajj. So that is what is happening here, and this society is involved in the interfaith activities. But we take pride in basically in joining projects that are dedicated to serve the homeless and to serve the needy and the underprivileged people here. And with the family promise, we have made a deal that every year the homeless families will spend X number of weeks in our mosque. And in January we had 8 families, and in next January we will also have another 8 families coming to the mosque. So these are the activities that we are involved in. Besides that, of course, we have also the Sunday schools, and we have our own internal activities. But the main focus is to develop relationships with the community at large. So that is what we do on behalf of the Muslim community and the Islamic Society. We are really honored by your presence here, and we hope that Interfaith Council would continue to sponsor forums at the mosque in the coming years as well. Dr. Shafi being the chair, I hope that he would push strongly for that. So thank you very much once again for being here, and I will now assume the role of the chant, the prayers that we offer in Arabic. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين ولا تستوي الحسنة ولا السيئة ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم وما يلقاها إلا الذين صبروا وما يلقاها إلا ذو حظ عظيم وإما ينزغنك من الشيطان نزغ فاستعذ بالله إنه هو السميع العليم. Who is better in words than the one who invites people to the worshipping of one God and substantiates his action, his words with his actions. And good and evil are not equal. If you are done wrong, then repel that wrong with something that is good, because that is the only way that can soften the hearts of the people who are opposed to you or who do not like the way you live or you behave. This is something that is given to only those people who have great quality to control themselves and resist the temptations. And this is a quality that is achieved by those people who have great discipline. Even after achieving all these things, always feel that you are under the constant watch of God, because the evil forces would always try to tempt you away from the righteousness. Those are the moments that you go back to God, seek His guidance and live according to the rules and the values and the principles that He has given you, and God says that. Thank you.
The format of our forums is pretty simple, but before I ask or go through that, I'd like to find out how many of you are here for the first time for an Interfaith Forum. Great, great. Okay, we're happy to have all of you here. The panelists have been asked to confine their statements to 6 minutes. And so they're going to tell you about everything there is to know about their religion in 6 minutes. And I am going to time them with my little friend. Isn't she adorable? And she will ring. Now we'll have it ring at 5 minutes, and then they'll know they've got 1 more minute to go. And that's just the way it happens here. And so they'll be speaking in the order in which they are listed in the program. They'll be introduced only once. Following their presentations, which will be consecutive, and which we hope you'll, yes, they'll be consecutive, we'll have questions and answers. And the way that we handle the questions and answers is that we ask you to write your questions as you think of them, raise your hands, and then Robert Meacham and Dennis Ortwine, there's Robert back there and Dennis over here, will pick up your questions and bring them to me so we can sort them and make sure we have some questions ready to go before the panelists reach that point where we're doing questions and answers. And one thing I'd like to suggest is that you try to address your questions to an individual. Sometimes people think that they're going to be able to get a broader question answered if they ask all of the panelists. Unfortunately, we just don't have the time for that, and that question will most likely not be addressed. So you'll have a higher likelihood if you're asking an individual panelist. Hopefully we'll adjourn somewhere around 8:30, and you'll be able to stick around and either take a tour or get to know some of the other people who are here and perhaps talk a little bit more with the panelists over some refreshments. The ground rules are these. First of all, we assume that our religious beliefs are our most deeply held beliefs, and as such, we respect those beliefs in one another, and we are not here to try to change one another's beliefs. There is no proselytizing, no debate, no campaigning, and no challenge to anyone's religion or to any of the comments that are made tonight. We do ask our panelists not to interpret for any other faith. They're speaking only for their religion. And we, as I mentioned earlier, they're being asked to speak primarily from scriptural or organizational information that is shared by the grand membership of their religion. And finally, we try to accept what is. Where we agree, and that's wonderful. Where we disagree, that's okay. And in essence, we have this koan where we agree to disagree. First of all, we'll be hearing from Judaism from Rabbi Yocheved Mintz. She is from the congregation Panay Tikva. From Islam, substituting for Dr. Aslam Abdullah is our dear Dr. Mohammed Shafi, who is a member of the board of the Islamic Society of Nevada and many other things as well. From the Sikh faith, we'll be hearing from Dr. Amarjit Pannu from the Gurdwara Baba Deep Singh Ji, right, more or less. From Christian Science, we'll be hearing from Marie Longpre-Adams. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we're happy to have Mr. Matt McIntyre here this evening. And finally, from the Baha'i Faith, Mrs. Elham Komasi is here representing the Baha'i Faith. You have your evaluations. You also have some pencils. We hope at the end of the program you will have filled out those evaluations, and you'll turn both the pencils and the evaluations back into Ruthie. And at this time, we ask that our minds be open in order to hear the truth where it is spoken, and that we feel the presence of the one who created us all as we share with one another what we believe.